Welcome to another episode of the podcast formerly known as Sabine's Common Sense. Yes, we have a little name change situation going on I want to talk to you guys about. I'm your host, Sabine, the Purpose Lawyer. Thank you for listening and thank you for helping me be on purpose as usual. I'm so excited about this episode because I just get to talk to you guys today, like intentionally just wanted to sort of talk to you guys, and thank you so much for following. I know I say that every week, but I truly appreciate you guys taking the time out to watch these episodes. It's really a labor of love. Like, one of the things I wanted to talk about today is how people don't realize that podcasts, these type of things are so much work, but if you love it, then it really doesn't feel like work. But I understand why people don't, they think it's easy and then they go after it and they're like, whoa, like this is really something that takes a lot of commitment. And so that's one of the things that I want to talk about today is that I think we're at like episode 30 something. Like, I should really know the exact number, but I'll tell you why I don't know the exact number, because for me, when I see things going well, sometimes it scares me and it scares me into stopping and stalling and stunting my growth. So listen, your girl has been working on herself. So I know my flaws. Okay. And so because of that, I'm trying to like just do it and not really like pay too much attention to like what's happening with it. Right. And what's happening with the growth and things like that. So I'm doing it for love, doing it for the passion to be able to share, to sort of feel like really like I'm in my purpose. And one of the things that that I was thinking about with, coming to do this episode about having a name change and things like that is, what did I really want to get out of this sort of podcast? And at first, I wasn't quite sure. I felt like it was something that I needed to do. I felt like it was a way for me to express my creativity, because many of you know that I'm a lawyer. So a lot of what I do is not sexy, right? But I do have a lot of creativity. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of things. And so a lot of times in my work, I don't feel like I have an outlet to express that. So doing this podcast, this show has helped me to find a consistent, steady outlet that is, cohesive and sort of, getting me to sort of scratch that itch of like being in my purpose. And when I even came up with the name Sabine, the Purpose Lawyer, I didn't really know where I was going with this. This was like, I think in 2018, when I came up with this name, 2017, I can't remember the exact date, but when I did, I was just like, okay, well, we're going to call this, I did it with my Instagram name. I was like, I wonder what I should call myself, because I've seen other people calling themselves things. And I'm like, what would I call myself? I love my name, Sabine. So I was like, okay, it's going to be Sabine, the Purpose Lawyer. Like, nothing that I was doing was related to anything about purpose and things like that. But I knew, I was like, you know what, it's going to make sense one day. And I just kept with it. And so now I really do feel like I'm in my purpose, because I'm helping people and I am, interviewing others, giving them a platform to be able to speak and sort of share their story. But I'm learning at the same time, because just knowing how people make their way through life and understanding how everybody has a different path, everybody gets there differently, and there's no right way to do it. As we were wrongfully taught, and now we're relearning that there's really no right way to get to where you're going, and there's no really beaten path. It's just that, the chips sort of fall where they are. And if you really want something, all you have to do is have your mind set on having it and going after it, and you actually could sort of get there. So that's one thing. So why did we change the name? So the name for this podcast started out as Sabine's Common Sense. And again, wasn't quite sure where I was going. My daughter came up with that name, Sabine's Common Sense, like years ago when I was doing another segment on a friend's platform. And I love it. Like, I love the name. But when I was doing this show, I was toying with that, because I was like, well, it's not, I'm going to be interviewing some people, so it's not necessarily my common sense or my thoughts and ideas. And so we had the beginning of the show, I share with you an article or something that I learned or something that could help you in your business, in your career, or just your life in general. And typically related to either legacy or protecting your assets or protecting your brand in some sort of way, right? And so I'm like, okay, that's the Sabine's common sense part of it, right? So we're going to keep that. We're going to keep the Sabine's common sense portion of the show, but we are going to pivot to something that I feel like could encompass more of the things that I'm attracted to, more of the conversations that I want to have. And so we're moving towards, drum roll please, the Ambitious Legacy podcast. Yes, you guys can see my shirt. Yeah, so it's now the Ambitious Legacy podcast. And how did I come up with that? I love this talk about legacy. Legacy is something that I started talking about because, my firm does trust and estates planning, which also could be considered legacy planning, but the legacy aspect of it goes a little bit further into, the morals, the life lessons, the impact that you sort of want to leave, when you're gone. And for some reason, it really fires me up. Like, I light up when I get to talk to people about it. I light up when we get to help people in this area. And I was like, this may be onto something, but a lot of times people don't even know, like, what do you mean, Sabine? Like, what does legacy mean? And so that's why, as a part of this new show name pivot, one of the questions that we're going to ask all our guests is, what does legacy mean to you? And how are you leaving a legacy? Because it is different for everybody, what legacy means to them and how they're going to go about doing that. And I know that from, dealing with all the various clients that we have, everybody has a different motivation for why they're doing it, or what their end goal is, or what they're looking for out of life. And it's so amazing when we get to interview people. We do a legacy interview as part of what we do. And so the legacy interview, we ask them a whole bunch of questions about their life and their children, if they have, what are the life lessons that they've learned along the way. And it's been like a great experience to sort of hear these different perspectives. And the one thing that I find most is that there are things that they haven't done that they regret. That's one of the hardest parts of it. But there are also so many different ways that people have found fulfillment in life, and that you wouldn't even think about. Like, you think everyone needs to be a bajillionaire or whatever it is to find fulfillment in life, but that is not the only way that people find fulfillment in life. And so, like, for me, for instance, this show, I know is part of my legacy. I don't know where it's going or what's going to happen with it, but I know that it's part of my legacy. And I learned that most podcasts don't make it past the 5th episode, or most podcasts don't make it past the 5th episode. And so for episode, again, it's in the double digits, but I don't know the exact number, 20 something, 30 something. But I'm super excited for where we are and what we're going to sort of accomplish here. It's been a really great experience, connecting with people, talking to people. It's not what I really expected from it. I thought it was something to be honest, help me in my career, help my business and things like that. But it's been touching me in a deeper space, which I hope that it's touching you. And when people are like, oh, I watch your podcast, I'm like, what? Or I listen to your podcast, I'm like, what? That's crazy. So it's really been an honor to be able to do that. And so I wanted to sort of answer for you guys one of the things that legacy sort of means to me. And I was saying, that this show is going to be part of my legacy because when I was a little girl, I used to watch the Oprah show like religiously. That's what I used to watch every day. And I know I'm not alone. Tons of people used to do that. And we also always used to see how Oprah would give people gifts and sort of, like celebrate people. Like one time she did an episode on like nurses and people in the healthcare and brought them all on the show. And I think it was one of the episodes where she took everybody on a trip. It might've been the Australia trip that she was taking people on. So it was one of those things that she was taking them all on a trip to be wonderful and great. And my thought process was that I want to be someone who is so great or who has made such an impact that someone would want to do that for. It wasn't like, oh, I wish Oprah would take me on a trip to Australia, whatever it was. It was more so like, I want to be the person that sort of deserves that. And I would ask myself, well, what have you done for others? Or what have you done here? Or what can you do? What sort of impact can you make? I'm so grateful for that, just like spark of thought, of insight to even want to be great, to be able to receive, and now I know it's not really about the receiving, it's just about, that contribution to say, like, you were here, you did something, you changed people's lives. And so that's what I, hope to accomplish with this, and just with, everything that we've been doing. And I feel like the platform has grown. We're also going to be having an event next year in February called the Ambitious Legacy event. And I'll talk more about that as it gets a little bit closer, but really, it's really to start and spark this conversation about what is legacy, how are we working on our legacy, and what type of things are we putting in place to sort of get there. Because I think one of the things with young people, especially, that I'm finding, is that we don't think about legacy. And I'm saying we because, yes, I'm still young. We don't think about legacy now in our 30s and our 40s. Maybe as we get a little bit older, 50s, 60s, I'm not sure, because I ain't there yet. But we're not thinking about it in the sense of growing. What is it that we're leaving behind when we're not here? So we may think about monetarily. Of course, legacy planning includes the monetary, the tangible aspects, so your accounts, your properties, your things like that, your jewelry, whatever's of value. But the other part, right? Like, how did you make people feel? How is the world a better place because you were here? What type of things did you say that made somebody change their life, or want to be better, or want to stop self-sabotage or self-harm, or want to, just like not sit stuck in a space where they are not able to be their best selves or accomplish their dreams. What is it that you did to help with that? And how did you really live your life to the fullest in a way that impacted others? Because building a legacy doesn't always have to be with something that you've physically done for someone, but it could be the love that you gave yourself, the respect that you gave yourself, the not giving up on your dream, not giving up on your hopes. Those type of things are also a part of the mark that we make. So I look at many of you know that I have a daughter. She's 8 years old, about to be 9, who's raising me. And, I look at the things that she sees me doing and how that's impacting her life. And I'm always thinking about what connection she's making and how she's going to use this lesson or this example to help her. A lot of times we know that kids, sometimes they want to be the opposite of their parents, or they want to be exactly like their parents, or they might, use something that they learned to sort of make it a step further. And that's what I really hope that she does. I want her to use whatever it is that she sees me doing, saying, the life that I'm living every single day. I want her to use that to help herself be better, right? And so I think about that. I think about when I set goals, and if I'm either not meeting my goals, or if I'm procrastinating from my goals, or, if I'm just, being negative in that moment, I think about that. What lesson am I teaching right now in this moment? And is that a lesson that I want to teach, So all these wonderful things go into to leaving your legacy. And I think it's great for us to think about it today while we're well and we have time to do something about it, and not let, things stop us or stunt our growth, or let fear take over. I think it's something that we need to be intentional about. And that's what this ambitious legacy thing is about. It's ambitious because we want to go after our wildest, craziest, most ridiculous dreams, right? That's the ambitious part of it. When somebody tells you or sets a really high goal, you're like, well, that's ambitious. Well, yes, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create these most ridiculous, audacious, wild goals and shoot for them, right? And you know how they say, if you shoot for the stars, you'll land amongst the clouds. And when we do that, there's always a lot of lessons sort of learned. And I wanted to make sure that I touched upon, things that things that were not always perfect, right? Like I didn't come here, arrive to this point in my life, and just for some context for people, I've been in business for about 9 years. I run a law firm, Franco Law Firm, and out of New York, and we're licensed in New York and New Jersey. And for certain services, we do practice nationally. But for so long, I identified myself with how well or how bad my firm was doing at the time. And and so it was very tied, very connected. So if we weren't doing well, then my self-worth was down. If we're doing well, then I'm like, oh, things are great, this is wonderful. But businesses, if you're an entrepreneur, and you're finding your way, they can tend to go in a roller coaster until you put the right things in place to sort of get there. So it was a roller coaster for me for many years, and because I just had a lot of self-work to do. I was insecure, I was shy, I just didn't really believe in myself and the God within me and all that good stuff. I had a lot of fear that I allowed to hold me back. And one of the wonderful things is through the growth of my business, entrepreneurship reveals in you exactly who you are. If you're great and fearless, that's exactly what it's going to show you. But if you are stuck in fear and you have some areas that you need to work on in your life, well, it's definitely going to show you that. And so for me, that's what it did. It showed me all those areas, but I'm grateful for it because it allowed me to look at myself and fix those things, right? That is like such a gift to be awareness. Awareness is such a gift to be able to see and know and have the ability to make a change in what's going on with you. So been in business 9 years. First 4 years did really nothing to grow the business. It was really just word of mouth, but we're doing good. Still a 6-figure business, which for a lot of law firms or solo law firms, that in itself is an accomplishment. So I will pat myself on the back for that one. But I really did nothing to build a firm. I didn't look at infrastructure. I wasn't really investing in things. And then that started to change when I started to work on me. I started to listen to my intuition and my gut on the things that I needed to be doing. Started networking, started marketing, started, building a team, started building infrastructure. But most importantly, the biggest thing that I did that I think made the most impact in the change is working on myself and my mindset. So I know that, we historically, right, have had things that we passed down through as our legacy, right? Hurt people, right? We've passed down lessons of insecurity. We've passed down lessons of not enough. We've passed down lessons of you need somebody else to help you to get there. We passed down lessons of not speaking up for yourself, not being confident. We passed down lessons of, that we just couldn't do it on our own, And so a bunch of things like that. And I don't think it's intentional, but I think that, for not seeking out books to read, mentorship, community, being around like-minded people, being around successful people, for not seeking things like that out, we found ourselves in places where we're sending the wrong messages, we're passing down the wrong messages. And so one of the things that I wanted to work on in terms of legacy is I didn't want to pass that on to my child. I didn't want to pass on limiting beliefs. I didn't want to pass on, destructive behavior, destructive thought patterns, destructive, destructive behavior, right? Destructive thought pattern, destructive mindset. All of that stuff is changeable, and all of that stuff you can be intentional about not continuing that to the next generation. And for me, that's one of the things that I feel was the greatest impact in my growth. all of the mistakes that I made. I've made financial mistakes. I've, spent too much, or oversaved and not invested, and not listened to myself and not jumped in when I needed to jump in, or jumped out too early, whatever it is. I made all those kind of mistakes, and I really want to make sure that other people are not doing that, but not the financial piece, because we have a lot of people teaching you the financial piece. It's more about the mental piece, which I think is the biggest part. That plays the biggest role in whether you're going to be successful or whether you're not going to be successful. If you are not successful up here first already, then it's not going to happen. Essentially, it's not going to be a situation that you're going to be able to go ahead and have those successes without having your mindset in order, your mindset in place. And so one of the lessons that I wanted to share with you from this year is that you really have to be intentional about working on yourself, which I feel like in a sense I'm sort of rambling here. So reading books has been the biggest game changer for me. Like I'm a lawyer, so yes, I do read. However, when you're always reading for work, maybe, it's not enough time really to read for leisure. But this year, thanks to the pandemic, sort of had some time to stop and pay attention to, sort of what's going on around me and how I'm living my life, and the things that I was paying attention to, that I was going after, frivolous things. Like I was focused on acquiring frivolous things, whether it was to make myself feel worthy, or whether it was to emulate other people who I thought were wealthy or seemingly were wealthy. And I started to learn that. So my process really was that I was like, okay, so I've never really been like a big spender on, high ticket items, name brands and things like that. And so I had a period where I was like not buying anything at all. I wasn't shopping at all, because I wanted to undo the lessons that I learned growing up, which again was not anybody's fault, just, lack of knowledge, that, having nice things or spending your money is showing that you made it. And so because that's not something that I wanted to continue to pass on, when I realized that's not true, I went to the extreme. It was like not buying anything, not shopping anything, just saving. And then I realized that that's not necessarily what it is, or that's not necessarily the way. And I was like, I'm just going to shop. I'm just going to buy all the name brand things that I wanted and luxury items that I wanted. Then I started doing that for a little while. And then I realized that's not fulfilling either. So now I'm at the point of doing it smarter, and being intentional about saving, but more so investing, and really taking my time with that. But what I now know, again, is that it's the mindset aspect of it. And why do I know that? Because of reading. Full circle. I always got to reel myself in. So it's because of reading. And so because I now have made it a requirement, and have made it, a really integral part of my day-to-day and my life. And that is because one of my good friends started a book club. It's the Infinite Mindset Book Club. And you guys are free to, welcome to join me. If you go to my social media, you'll be able to find the links for that. And it's a book club, free book club, but we meet every Sunday at 10 a.m. And the book club really focuses around mindset piece. So we read only books about mindset. So helping us figure out, following your intuition, right? Helping us figure out, how do you deal with these thought patterns that you have that may be either healthy or unhealthy, what to do with them, how to deal with, all types of relationships in your life. You're, maybe a spouse, but maybe, just at the workplace, with your children, with whatever, all types of relationships. How does your behavior dictate what comes to you, manifestation, things like that. And that has really, I think, been the biggest game changer for me, and has made the most difference, because nothing external has changed. I can't say nothing. A lot of things external have changed, but mostly a lot of internal has changed. And because of that, I've been able to find peace, and I've been able to find just hope and all, and then just so much like opportunity that I think is really around the corner that I'm super excited about. And again, that's what the show is going to bring. It's going to continue to bring insight on all these different areas that play into us building a legacy and the things that hold us back from building a legacy, right? Because you cannot be, which I think I said this already, you cannot be wealthy if you're not wealthy here. You cannot give love if you don't have love here for yourself. You cannot do any of those things without first being your best self. So I say that to say, I'm so excited for this next year. I'm so excited for what's happening with the show. I hope you guys are excited too. I was going to do a Sabine's Common Sense in this episode, but I was like, you know what? I'm home. Let's just, do this home for the holidays session with you guys and tell you a little bit about what's been going on with me and the show and where it's going and what we have in store for you guys. So we got some good guests coming up in the next couple of episodes that you'll get to hear from. And next year is just going to be on fire. Like I said, we're starting off the year with an event at the end of February, and it's just going to be rolling from there. A lot of good stuff in store. So I thank you guys so much for listening as usual. I thank you for just participating in this journey with me. Again, we're doing this together. This is our growth thing. We're growing together, and I'm going to see you guys along the way. And I hope you guys had a happy Thanksgiving yesterday, and we'll talk again before the holidays. We'll meet in an intimate session like this again. All right. Thank you for watching.